People are liking him very much on the other side. And I think that because of politics, perhaps they're not going to vote for him. I think that's a shame because that's not being honest.
That's encouraging. I am so encouraged to have this type of a meeting, and we're all invited to sit down and be open and honest about it. And no one got into name calling, or no one got into why he said, she said. It wasn't that, and you'd be surprised.
Now, the Senate not expected to vote again on any nominee until next week. Heather and Heather.
All right, Jackie, thanks.
They need to move forward on that so they can get to tax cuts and infrastructure plan.
Yeah, a lot of work to be done.
Thank you.
Well, President Trump hard at work on his law and order agenda. The commander-in-chief signing 3 executive orders to crack down on crime, just moments after swearing in the new Attorney General, Jeff Sessions.
I'm signing 3 executive actions today designed to restore safety in America.
Now, the first one orders the Justice Department and Homeland Security to tackle the international criminal drug cartels. The second will help establish a Department of Justice task force on reducing violent crime in America. And the third seeks to stop crime against law enforcement officers to protect our men and women in blue.
Well, breaking overnight, look at this. It's a plane packed with people exploding into flames just minutes before takeoff. Travelers at JFK Airport in New York seeing this image on the runway. Can you imagine seeing that in person?
No.
The flames are pouring from the engine, making the jet barely visible there. The Argentine Airlines flight in Buenos Aires immediately grounded and sent back to the gate for inspection. Yeah. And the search intensifying at this hour for a missing worker after this massive pipeline explosion. Police in St. Charles Parish, Louisiana, believe that a valve failed, igniting the pipe into this giant blowtorch. 2 workers were injured. The high-velocity pipeline packed with propane and other dangerous gases, forcing 60 families from their homes until it stops burning, and that could take days.
All right, let's talk about some weather now. 50 million Americans now bracing for a deep freeze after a winter storm wallops the Northeast. Heather, we got our snow boots out, don't we?
Yes, we sure do. And the fur. Boston buried under up to 10 inches of snow. The whiteout conditions making a mess on the roads.
Yeah, flight cancellations and delays expected again today after the storm brought airports literally to a standstill in a lot of parts.
Yep, meteorologist Adam Klotz is here tracking the deep freeze. Good morning, Adam.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, that was a big system we saw. Good news is now moving off the coast. So we're just looking at those really chilly temperatures as we begin to get a little bit of a break from that snow up into the Northeast. There is another round of snow. This one maybe not as big, but still one to pay attention to moving across the upper Midwest. Now, eventually this runs over the Great Lakes, and we do see a little bit more snow running into portions of New England, but really just upper New England. So that's a system we're going to be paying attention to, and you talk about that freeze. Boy, look at some of these temperatures. This is an hour-by-hour forecast. Across the Northeast, temperatures, again, over the course of the day, running up into the 30s in some cases, but this is a chilly one. You see a little bit of that snow running into the upper north, the upper New England area, so maybe portions just off the lake seeing some of that lake effect snow. Boston seeing a little bit more snow before the day is over, but these temperatures are going to be frigid once again today. Here's where the snow is across the country, but if I can show you really briefly, it's cold in the Northeast, but take a look at some of these temperatures in the middle of the country. Boy, it's warm. 45 degrees in Chicago, 62 degrees in Kansas City. That warm weather heading towards the Northeast by this weekend, and I think all that snow will be melting by Sunday, guys.
By Sunday, that's some good news.
Yeah. That's kind of a bummer. It's pretty to see.
Really? See, there you go.
South, north. All right.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
Yep.
Well, we have some brand new evidence to back up President Trump's claims of voter fraud.
But you take a look at the registration. You have illegals, you have dead people, you have this. It's really a bad situation. It's really bad.
Well, speaking of that, there is a new audit we're learning about this morning. It took place in Michigan. It showed at least 31 people voted more than once. 14 of those people voting in Detroit. They could now face a felony charge. The audit found voters cast ballots in person and also absentee ballots. The Board of Elections saying it plans to give poll workers better training to stop that one from happening.
Well, they'll take the Super Bowl trophy and the rings, but now 6 New England Patriots are giving the White House a hard pass. Running back LeGarrette Blount, defensive end Chris Long, and defensive tackle Alan Branch, just the latest players to back out of a presidential visit. Blount revealing his decision on Fox Sports.
I just don't feel welcome into that house. I'm going to just leave it at that.
Now it's unclear exactly when the Patriots will head to the White House for a traditional post-Super Bowl meeting with the president.
Wow, that's a shame.
It really is.
I mean, it's the president's house, it's the people's house,
Right.
you know. Wish
And
we
they
could all
play for
celebrate
people
that.
from both parties. They have fans across the board.
Certainly. All right. Well, the time now is 10 minutes after the hour. And this is the message. Is it the message that we should send first graders?
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon.
Well, we will tell you now about the city facing a fierce backlash for bringing a Black Lives Matter curriculum to the classroom. I have kids that age. That's an interesting one.
Look at this one. The court rules against President Trump and his travel order. That's the big story today. Is the Supreme Court next? A former prosecutor gives us his take on the fate of this high-stakes case. That's up next.
And here's something you don't see every day. Heather, look at this. It's an orange alligator.
What happened?
Yeah, so why some say that the reptile is a Trump supporter.
Because it's orange?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I get it.
You have to stick around.
I get it.
We'll tell you.
I get it. A Fox News alert, President Trump firing back after the appeals court refuses to reinstate his immigration order. So what happens next? Former prosecutor David Bruno is here to weigh in. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So at the very beginning, let's take a look at this court decision. You explain to us what this means exactly. Now, the government, they pointed to no evidence that any alien from any of the countries named in the order, by the way, has penetrated a terrorist attack in the United States. What does that mean?
Yeah, this issue right here goes to the stay, because in the Ninth Circuit, what the United States government argued was that this court should stay the first stay. And when a court when a court considers whether or not to stay, they look at four factors.
Meaning keep the travel ban pause in place.
Yeah, that's what the first court did. The district court said we are going to stay
Everything's
the
at a
executive order.
Standstill.
So what they did is they appealed that decision to the Ninth Circuit.
Right.
And the Ninth Circuit had to make a decision whether or not to stay the stay.
Right.
And in the course of their consideration, they were determining whether or not there'd be irreparable harm if they did not stay. And they said that the United States government did not point to any specific facts or threats. They did not provide any evidence to show there's irreparable harm.
I think the people that are concerned about this, the decision of whether or not our national security is at risk now rests in the hands of these three judges.
Yeah, sure. The Constitution, Article 2, says the president is the commander-in-chief and responsible for our national security.
So how could they do this, and then what happens next? It seems like they would take it to the Supreme Court.
Well, that's an option for the government, and they're going to probably make that decision today, whether or not. But what's interesting is these two courts have made decisions, but neither of the two courts are actually final decisions because they're only whether or not to stay the ban. In fact, the Ninth Circuit itself still has work to do. There's a briefing schedule that's going to take place in March, and they're going to fully argue the appeal of the federal court decision.
So when they do that, what is the purpose of that? Because I know this particular decision itself was just based on the logistics, as you were saying.
Yeah.
But then there's a bigger issue, the entire issue as to whether or not the president has this right or the courts have this right.
Yeah,
so in the briefing that you're talking about, what happens?
They're going to argue the similar points. That was just so the Ninth Circuit just came out with a decision yesterday.
Right.
And that was whether or not they were going to stay.
Keep it, yeah.
Right. But there's still arguments that have to be made fully to the Ninth Circuit.
Over the phone again?
Yeah, no, it's going to be fully briefed and in court.
I think that's a good idea.
They talked about due process, okay, because one of the big criticisms of this executive order is that it did not provide notice and opportunity to litigate for the people that are affected. That's a due process argument.
So the entire thing could be reversed in March?
It could be reversed by the Ninth Circuit at the end of the month, but probably unlikely.
Okay.
Because this three-judge panel already issued an opinion.
They've shown how
it's
they
going to
feel.
be very unlikely for them to reverse themselves.
All right, David, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
You know. All right, Heather.
All right. Well, training students to protest President Trump, Duke University now sponsoring a workshop called Ideas for Activism in the Time of Trump. The event claims to promote ways to bring what they call social justice to people the Trump administration is, quote, bringing down and to, quote, resist his agenda. The one-hour event is scheduled for next week. Duke University. Parents, how do you feel about you're going to go to that one? Well, it is a group known for rioting and rallying against police. You remember this.
Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon. Pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon.
Well, now there is a New York public school district that will celebrate Black Lives Matter Day. This is in Rochester in upstate New York. Teachers encouraging to engage students with facts, issues facing African Americans in their community. The district says that this is not tied to any protests or the Black Lives Matter movement across the country, but a resource page includes links to the website for the national movement. And as we understand it, children as young as first grade will be taught about this. What do you think about that one? Heather, what you got over there?
We'll get some opinions on that, I'm sure. Well, now to a Fox Business alert for you. Stocks hitting a record high after President Trump promises some big league tax cuts. Cheryl Casoni from our sister network Fox Business here to explain. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Stocks hitting another major milestone. All three indices hit fresh records after President Trump said a, quote, phenomenal announcement on tax reform would come in a matter of weeks.
Lowering the overall tax burden on American business is big league, and we're going to be announcing something, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 weeks that will be phenomenal in terms of tax.
The Dow closing at 20,172, the S&P at 2,307, the Nasdaq closing 5,715. Investors had hit the pause button in the last few weeks after a post-election day rally based on campaign promises by the president that he would lower taxes, ease regulation in business, and invest in infrastructure. Well, Fox News has learned a classified report from the State Department found the refugee data computer system was vulnerable to hackers. The weakness dated back to 2011, and the findings were so alarming when the report was shared with government officials, an alert was sent out in December. Processing issues in the current vetting program known as RAPS were also cited as a major problem. Well, McDonald's is testing a new snow crab sandwich in San Francisco. If it works, the crab sandwich could go national. And then here in New York, the chain has opened a French-inspired McDonald's. They're serving croissants, chocolatines, as well as burgers and fries. Mickey D's hired a French designer for this McCafe that's located in Manhattan's Chelsea neighborhood. And finally, if you've suffered a recent breakup, Hooters is going to give you free food. The chain is offering the brokenhearted 10 free boneless chicken wings on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. The catch, you have to show a photo of your ex, then they shred it, and then you get the wings. If you don't want witnesses to your revenge ploy, there's an online program that produces a coupon for you. Another option for Valentine's Day. Guys, back to you.
The time now, 21 minutes after the hour. A war on cops igniting some brand new fears when gangs are now threatening to kill police on patrol.
And if Hillary had won, the hilarious Twitter account documenting the first lady's or former first lady's fictional first few days in office.
Welcome back to a Fox News alert. Street gangs threatening to kill our police officers. The war on cops front and center in Danville, Virginia, after officers sitting in their patrol cars are ambushed by gunfire 3 times within the last few months.
They're being targeted specifically because they chose to have a life of service to others. We have families. We have people that we love. We have people we're going to go home to.
Oh boy, some gang members are wearing T-shirts with the disgusting hashtag DPDK. That stands for Danville Police Department Killers. Well, more than 100 officers were killed in the line of duty last year across the country. Horrible what's going on down there, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Let's take you to Penn State University, banning alcohol at fraternity and sorority events after a sophomore plunges to his death. Police say that 19-year-old Timothy Piazza fell downstairs during a party, and his frat brothers didn't call 911 for 12 hours. That fraternity has been suspended. The university says the no alcohol rule will remain in place until fraternity leaders agree to change their policies.
Well, no law banning dancing has a town feeling like they're stuck. Do you remember the old movie?
Yes,
Footloose?
I love this
Great
one.
movie.
And there was a time for this law, not anymore. See, this is our time to dance.
Now
Okay, but we are not talking about a movie plot this morning. In this case, it is very real. A business in Henrietta, Oklahoma, forced to cancel its Valentine's Day dance because the city's strict rules, they don't allow dancing or rock music within 5 feet of a church. So the city council will now reconsider the ordinance later this month. What do you think about that? You could have some nice little dancing in church, keep it nice and clean.
That movie. Yeah,
that's all about
Kevin
love.
Bacon. Yeah, the time now is 26 minutes after the top of the hour.
Yeah, that's all you care about him.
Exactly. Outrage over a ruling to block the president's travel order. That's coming up.
You're going to tell me that a citizen of another country who we don't even know, whose country won't even tell us who that person is, has primacy over the United States citizen?
Why Judge Jeanine Pirro says that the court has no case.
And high school students protesting the president, but did they even know why? Watch this.
So don't you want to check to see if someone's cool before you let them in?
Oh, of course. You always want to check. That's why we have our airports.
And that's why we want extreme vetting, right?
Of course, of course.
So you do agree with the Trump ban?
Good morning to you. You are watching Fox and Friends. First, much of the country in a deep freeze as they wake up this morning. I'm Heather Childers.
And I'm Heather Nauert. Can't believe it's Friday already.
Yes,
I'm so
I'm
happy it's finally here. It is now 1/2 the hour, and we start out this half hour with a Fox News alert. Blocked once again. An appeals court refusing to reinstate President Trump's immigration order, and now he has a message for the judges. I'll see you in court.
Garrett Tenney's live for us in Washington, D.C. has reactions from both sides of the aisle. And Garrett, we were just talking about this. This is not the end of it.
Oh, absolutely not. A long way to go from here. Weeks, even months, potentially over a year that this could be playing out. And if there was any question about where things go from here, President Trump certainly cleared that up in his response to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals unanimously refusing to reinstate his executive order. On Twitter, he wrote, "See you in court. The security of our nation is at stake." And later at the White House, he told reporters that ultimately it's a case he believes his administration will win easily.
It's a political decision, and we're going to see them in court, and I look forward to doing it.
So you believe the judges made a political
We have
decision?
a situation where the security of our country is at stake, and it's a very, very serious situation. So we look forward, as I just said, to seeing them in court.
On the other side, though, is Washington State's Attorney General Bob Ferguson, who brought the lawsuit challenging the president's executive order. And this ruling marks his second win in the courts with this case. And last night he has said he expects that winning streak to continue.
We are a nation of laws. And as I've said, as we have said from day one, that those laws apply to everybody in our country. And that includes the President of the United States.
In an interview with Breitbart on Facebook Live last night, though, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer repeated the administration's argument that this executive order clearly falls within the powers of the president.
As stated in U.S. Code, the president has the authority to make sure that the people coming into this country are do so with proper intentions. We look forward to a full hearing on the merits of this case, and we feel very confident that we're going to prevail.
So what's clear is that the White House does plan to continue this fight in court. What we're waiting to find out, though, is how they plan to do that. They could appeal this decision to the full Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and ultimately then to the Supreme Court, or they could go back to the district court in Washington where this ruling initially came from to fight it out there first before appealing. Heather and Heather.
All right, Garrett Tenney, live for us.
Thanks, Garrett. Well, Judge Jeanine Pirro, the host of Justice with Judge Jeanine, sounding off on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision, ripping the judges for even asking the president to explain himself. Here she is.
You're going to tell me that a citizen of another country who we don't even know, whose country won't even tell us who that person is, has primacy over the United States citizen, and that the President of the United States has to tell a federal judge why under Section 8 of Article 2, Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States that your last guest couldn't cite, has the primacy and gives the President the power? That's hogwash. The Supreme Court will give Trump the win on this.
Wow. Well, don't miss Judge Jeanine Pirro. She'll be live on Fox and Friends at 8:30 this morning. We'll see you down there.
Certainly will. And new overnight for you, another marathon fight on Capitol Hill, ending with a vote on Health and Human Services Secretary, finally, Tom Price.
The ayes are 52, the nays are 47. The nomination is confirmed.
But the fight, it is far from over. Both sides gearing up for perhaps their biggest battle, the Supreme Court. Jackie Ibanez is here with us live with some new developments. Good morning.
Good morning, Heather. Despite Democrats' best efforts, Representative Tom Price confirmed just over 3 hours ago as our new Secretary of Health and Human Services. Democrats fighting to the bitter end, trying to stop the man considered key to President Trump's promise to repeal and replace Obamacare.
When it comes to the health care of older Americans, confirming Rep. Price to be Secretary of HHS is akin to asking the fox to guard the hen house.
It can start bringing stability to the health care markets Obamacare has harmed. It can start bringing relief to the families Obamacare has hurt.
But the fight is just beginning. Democrats now focusing on their next target, vowing to block Andrew Puzder for Secretary of Labor. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer demanding he withdraw his nomination. But President Trump's focus is firmly on perhaps the Republicans' toughest fight yet, confirming Judge Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. The president holding a bipartisan meeting accusing Democrats of playing politics.
They think he's outstanding, and then they go on to tell me that perhaps they won't be able to do that. But that's one of the reasons that our country is in stagnation in so many different forms.
That's encouraging. I am so encouraged to have this type of a meeting, and we're all invited to sit down and be open and honest about it. And no one got into name calling, or no one got into why he said, she said. It wasn't that, and you'd be surprised.
Now, the Senate not expected to vote again on any nominee until next week. So there's a little bit of break there.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, we have a Fox News alert to bring you right now. Some breaking news just coming into our newsroom. A terror plot foiled at the last minute by police in southern France. 4 people, including a 16-year-old girl, now under arrest. 3 men, including a teenager's boyfriend, also taken into custody. This at a home in Montpellier. That's where they found makeshift bombs that we're told are nearly identical to those used by ISIS in deadly attacks in Paris and also in Brussels. The group reportedly planned to bomb an unspecified busy tourist area in Paris. This information just coming into our newsroom. We'll bring you more details as soon as we get them. Heather.
Yeah, so we'll follow that. Meantime, that plot comes as Paris plans to build a wall 8 feet high around the Eiffel Tower. And the wall would be made out of bulletproof glass, hoping to prevent attacks at the top tourist spot. 6 million visitors head to the Eiffel Tower every year. No word yet on when that wall will go up.
Well, temperatures now plunging after a massive winter storm wallops the Northeast. 10 inches of snow falling on New York City and also Boston, causing a lot of collisions.
And a de-icing truck bursting into flames. Look at this. This was at Bradley International Airport. The chaos as more than 3,500 flights were canceled nationwide. Meteorologist Adam Klotz is in the Weather Center now for us, and he is tracking what is next. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. You know what? By the end of this forecast, we could be talking about some of that snow melting. But here's what we're looking at first. Still clearing across portions of New England. There is another round of snow moving across the upper Midwest. Eventually, it is going to track towards the Boston area, but currently you're seeing upper Wisconsin running into areas of Michigan down towards getting into northwestern Ohio. All areas where you're seeing snow currently. That line of snow is going to continue to track its way eventually to the northeast. So here's what we're looking at, temperatures and snowfall potential as we run through the course of the day. This is a future forecast, so you're seeing that snow sweeping across the lakes upper New York, so upstate New York, eventually maybe a little bit of snow in New York City, but running over towards the Boston area. We may see a little bit more snow before today is over, but as we track farther and farther into the weekend, eventually we're going to see some warmer air shifting this direction. Take a look at some of these temperatures. You're actually looking at some of these temps piling up to the 60, 62 degrees, 72 degrees. That's a high today in Denver. So a lot of warm air in the middle of the country. And as I shift you through the next couple of days, this is Friday's high. Well, I run you there into Saturday and Sunday, and you see that warm air beginning to move its way farther off to the east. 70 degrees in Atlanta, 70 degrees in Raleigh. You're looking at temperatures climbing into the middle 40s in New York City, 40 degrees again in New York for Sunday, which means, all this means, we are warming up. And we're going to see some of this snow melting before the weekend's over, guys.
All right. Hopefully that doesn't melt and then refreeze.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the time now is 39 minutes after the hour. Speeding vehicle, a high-speed chase, and a fiery crash all in one call, and the whole thing is caught on camera.
Get out! Can you get out? Yes, sir. Do it now. The car's on fire, man.
The special honor for hero officers who saved the suspect's life. We'll tell you about that.
And Hillary Clinton trolling President Trump on Twitter over his travel ban being blocked. But Kellyanne Conway just fired back, and her response is epic. And we have some high school kids to talk about as well. They are protesting President Trump, but do they even know why?
Which nations are on the temporary travel ban list?
Well, as of right now, I'm not completely sure about the actual countries.
Lebanon, many
Welcome back. President Trump ready to make America's airports great again.
We want the traveling public to have the greatest customer service with an absolute minimum of delays and with the greatest convenience, all at the lowest possible cost. Our airports used to be the best. Now they're at the bottom of the rung.
The president meeting with airline and airport executives at the White House, along with rolling back regulations. He floated the idea of privatizing America's air traffic control system, which he says is obsolete.
Well, Kellyanne Conway says that the president has her back after receiving some backlash for supporting Ivanka Trump's clothing line.
I'm just really happy that I spent an awful lot of time with the President of the United States this afternoon, and that he supports me 100%. All I can say to America's women is, at some point in your life, you ought to have a boss who treated me the way that the President of the United States treated me today.
Wow, that's so nice of her to say. Well, Conway saying that she would buy Ivanka's clothes after the president slammed Nordstrom for dropping his daughter's line. The White House confirming that Conway was counseled, that's the word they used, but that's still not good enough for the House Oversight Committee. In a bipartisan move, the chairman, Jason Chaffetz, and his Democrat counterpart, Elijah Cummings, now calling for an ethics investigation into that.
Well, hundreds of New York City students walked out of class this week to protest President Trump's immigration order.
But do these kids even know what they're protesting? That's the key question. So Jesse Waters went to find out, and watch what happened.
Are you cutting class to go to this protest?
Yes.
Which class?
I would have missed any class, but it happened to be lunch.
I'll go turn the fryers back on and throw some wings in for you.
Tell me what wingy.
I was cutting my calculus class. I have a test.
What exactly are you ladies here to protest?
I would say I'm here to protest the ban on immigrants and refugees.
The travel ban. That's un-American.
Which nations are on the temporary travel ban list?
Well, as of right now, I'm not completely sure about the actual countries.
Libya, Iraq, pretty sure Afghanistan, Lebanon, many
This isn't turning out the way I wanted it to.
It's all the nations that he wants, just not in America. That's bad phrasing, and I'm on TV.
Boy, what a great show. The countries that he's blocked, they're not terrorist countries.
Iran's not a terrorist country?
No.
It's the #1 sponsor of terrorism in the world.
What you talking about, Willis?
Do you believe in borders?
If you're cool and all, you're coming in to help me. I'm cool with that, but you're not coming here to mess things up.
So don't you want to check to see if someone's cool before you let them in?
Well, of course, you always want to check. That's why we have our airports.
And that's why we want extreme vetting, right?
Of course. But
so you do agree with the Trump ban?
I want to know what the response was. Wow. He was speechless.
I like that clip from Dallas.
Good, yeah. You know someone who's never speechless? That is Brian Kilmeade, and he is here to tell us what's coming up today. That was awesome.
Oh, and Brian, this looks like a grade school picture. Oh, how sweet.
Yes, I do feel like I'm posing. Yeah, my 8th grade graduation. Hey, I'm not allowed to sit on the couch. It's bad luck until showtime. So let me tell you what's coming up straight ahead. I'm going to be joined by 2 other people. Their names are in the prompter, but I just can't pronounce them. We're going to continue our look at what's going to turn out to be a ban on those 7 terror nations. We're going to take a look at the aftermath of the 9th District decision yesterday. We're also going to be joined by Judge Andrew Napolitano to unwind it for us. And Judge Janine will be here. Geraldo Rivera will be joining us. And could we all be looking at a tax cut? The chairman of the Ways and Means, Kevin Brady, will be here. I hope I'm dressed okay. Let's put in the animation and go to commercial right now.